So in the last episode, we introduced all the foundational UI for our show page and our index page, as well as copied some styles over from the demo project and had those all in place. As we add more shots, this will definitely look a lot more like Dribbble, but for now I'm just getting the functionality in place. So that's something I want to focus on in this video. And the big part of this video will be adding comment integration on a shot. So we'll do that right now. So the first thing I want to do is generate a few migrations and a controller and a model. So the first foundational step would be generate our controller. So Rails, generate controller, comment, and we will actually just want the create and destroy methods on those. Okay, let's see what happens there. Cool, so let's go to our project. I'll close down that for now and hop into our controller, clean up these files. Great, so we have these two actions now. One big thing I want to do first before I forget is to just set that same before action as we used before on the devise side. So authenticate user and only for these. So create and destroy. Great. Okay, so a big thing we need to have in mind is our routes with how comments will be in a nested show page, because we only want comments on our actual shot page, and to do that our route needs to be in the sense nested within this. So to do that we need to actually change our configuration on our routes file to be the following. Let me see, config routes. So we get these when you generate that controller. I don't want those per se, so I'm gonna get rid of that space, go to shots, do, and just end it. Now we didn't generate every route for the comments itself, like all the actions we could do, but I'm gonna just add resources for now on a nested route. So basically it's shot, I guess I could type it, so it's shot with an ID of like 1, and then comment with an ID of whatever, if there is one. That's how the URL will look. So this will get that in place. Definitely restart your server if you're following along when you edit your routes file. So we'll go ahead and just do that. Great. So with that in place, our routing is set up. We still need the model though, so that's stuff we can save to the database. Let's go ahead and create a model. So we'll do that from the command line as well. Rails generate model comment, and this will just have I think I passed in a name as text or string, and response is text. That is right. So let's go ahead and run this, and we can check out our database migration file just to make sure that looks good. There we go. Create comments. We've got our name and response, and then of course our timestamps that come along with it. Great. So I will go and run Rails db migrate, and it should add that to our database. Our schema should update to represent all of that stuff now. So we have comments here. We do need to make sure we assign a comment to both a shot and a user. So I'm going to do that next. And those are other migrations that we need to run to do so. So we can do that next. So let's first start with, I guess, the shots. We need to do add or generate migration, add shot ID to comments, and I'm going to just type this one in. So we have this generated, and we're going to add column comments, and it'll be a shot ID and integer. And then we'll do one more that is for the user. So in this case, comment or Rails generate migration, add user ID to comments, and you can pass in things as you run those. I for some reason just like to type them out. Some people would beg to differ. Add column comments. So this is adding to our comments column. We're adding user ID and integer. Great. So with those in place, we can run Rails db migrate, and hopefully we should see what we're looking for in our schema. And most of the time when you do this stuff, you have to sit there and sketch it out or think about it. It's not just something that should just be immediately obvious unless you've done it exactly the same way before. So don't think you have to know that. This stuff just comes as you work more with Rails. You just kind of get used to it. It's just, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just one of those things. So I think we're set up now. Let me double check everything. Yeah. So we have those migrations all ready to go. We still need to add our associations in our model. So in our shot model, we're going to actually has many comments. And this will be dependent destroy as well. So if the shot gets deleted, so will the comments on it. Cool. And on our user model, we will have, let's see, has many shots and then has many comments. Same thing, dependent destroy. And then on our comment model, finally, these are going to be both belongs to shot and belongs to user. So if all goes right, we can now query specific things to, make all this stuff work. And it's confusing, I know, but we're just associating things at this point. So in our comments controller is where the big stuff is going to happen. Basically, we're going to have a user be able to create a new comment on a shot. And we'll start by grabbing the shot. So shot.find params shot ID. So we're looking for the shot ID, of course. And then we'll go ahead and grab the comment and do a create method on it. So we're essentially creating the comment, passing in these comment params, which I still need to write. So creates, I'll just write this out so you guys can understand a little better the comment. On the shot, passing in params. So finds the shot with the associated shot ID. Since we're in the comments controller, we have to look for the shot by the shot ID instead of just the ID. So the comments doing this stuff behind the scenes when you do create a new comment. So then the comment, we also need to associate it to a user ID. So we have the params passing through. Let's go ahead and add that actually. Private def comment params and then we'll just require these perimeters. Comment. Then we'll permit these. This Rails strong parameters here. And this is what these fields are what we generated to start with when we made our model. And then we want to actually associate the comment to a specific user. And the way I figured out how to do this is this way. So I'm getting the user ID on the comment, which we added in our last migration. So this will equal the current user who is logged in, their ID, if there is one. Just kind of checking to see if they're literally there. So this assigns logged in users ID to comment. Then we want to literally save this manually, so we can just type save. And that seems to work. There's probably other ways to go about that, but this one worked for me. And then finally, once it's saved, we can do an if save if you really want to. Comment save. Or we could do else. Now we don't have a new action, so I won't even bother there. Redirect to shot path with the shot ID passing through. Great. So while I'm at it, I'll do the destroy action here. This one's a little simpler, so we're also getting the shot by the shot ID. And the comment as well. This one we're going for shot. The comments find params ID, and then we're taking that comment and destroying it, and then we'll redirect to shot path shot. So this is just finding that associated comment. Since we're on the comments controller, it can find it by this basic ID on the shot, and then we'll destroy it and redirect. Awesome. So I think we're in a place to where we can start adding this stuff to the view. We have a comments create and destroy route and view, but I really honestly don't need these, because we're going to do different methods on those. The create will actually be embedded into the show page. So we'll actually nest those in a sense. So what I'm going to do is, I deleted those files. I'm going to add two more. One's called comment, one's called form, but they're underscored partials. So I'm going to do comment. And then one more called form. Okay. So before we add anything to those, let's go back to our shots show page, which is where all the nitty gritty is going to happen. So I will open that and refer to some notes real quick. So under our description is where we're going to add this. And I'm going to make a new section called comments. And inside that will be h2 with a subtitle class and is5 class. And now we can start to kind of pull in how many shots or how many comments are on a shot. So that's kind of nice. So we can actually do something like this and get the count. And then since I have it in the pluralize method, we can just throw in comment there and it should display. Let's see if that works first. Looks like I have an error, undefined method comment. Oh, that should be S, comments. Cool, so it is working. We're querying for comments. Of course, there's none yet because I haven't been able to create one. So let's go ahead and finish out this form. So if you followed along in like the blog example in the very first series I did, this is kind of a similar pattern, only we're associating different stuff with it. So I'm going to render a template here, or partial I should say. And this will essentially go into our comment partial and then render the comment out as it's created. We'll get into that part next. I'm going to finish out this view. So obviously if you comment, you need to be signed in. So I'm going to go ahead and check if the user signed in, just to add a little flair to this, because if they're not, I want to display other HTML. So if they are, let's render a comment form. And it will be h3.subtitle is 3. And we could just say leave a reply. And then below that, we'll render our actual comment form, which is a partial, those files I created just a few minutes ago. And then else, we will do a content class and a link to. Sign in. And it'll actually be new user session path. And I know that path, again, I've talked about this in other videos. If you ever run into, well, I don't know what path to use, you can just run rake routes in your command line and it should display them all. Ours should have quite a few at this point. Yeah. So devise has all these ones associated with users. And then the shots ones are the ones I actually created. And you'll notice when we did our nesting, that URL format's in play. So comments is nested within the shots. So that's probably a better representation of that. So let's finish this part out. So what did I type? To leave a comment. Great. So at this point, I don't think we have anything to display. We're missing the, oh, I typed that wrong. Let's go back. It should be comments. Okay. So our form should be displaying at this point, but we don't have any HTML in there in our partial form. So let's go ahead and do that part next. This one will be a simple form. So simple form for it's kind of unique because we need to pass in both the shot ID and the shot comments. So it's an array. And then we'll do the loop. So anything on the form will have that F attribute at the very beginning. So I'm going to just do a class field. Control, and then duplicate that. So f.input is the name field, input HTML, input. This is all to kind of hijack simple form and use our Bulma stuff. So your results may vary if you're on like Bootstrap or Foundation. In fact, Simple Form comes with those out of the box and like support for those. So if you run the initial install and flag it as like Bootstrap or Foundation, you don't even need to really hijack any of this. You'd just be typing these inputs instead of all this extra markup. So that's pretty gnarly. Input HTML, class, text area, wrapper, false, label HTML is this, class, label, and we'll end it. And then we finally need our submit button. So that's just the F dot button, submit. Cool. So that should be all we need to get our form out. There it is, using our styles and everything. So great. So let's verify if I'm not logged in, it shouldn't show. Yeah. Very cool. Okay, we'll go back to that. And the next thing, to get the comment to actually display on the page, we need to render what the comment will look like, and I'll do that in this next part. So this will be in our comment.html.erb file. Lot of Bulma stuff here. User thumb. And we're going to add our Gravatar image again. And we're passing in this case, our comment. Since we're rendering on the show page, we're passing in the shot comments. We can actually call the comment directly when we do that. So it's kind of a nifty way to go about it. So user.email.gsub spam and alt be the comment user.name. Then we want to comma Gravatar size is 48, so larger here, and then we'll end that. Then below the figure we want a div media content, and then one with the content and a p tag, strong tag for the name. And just to break the line, I'll do a div comment Rails comment dot response. So this is the name that you enter in the form, or this is actually pulling the name from the user who is logged in and commenting. So that kind of makes the name on the form field kind of useless in this case. But if you were to extend this and allow public replies, people that aren't logged in, maybe that's a way to go about it. You would have to change this to just comment.name in that sense. But I'm grabbing the user in this case because we're actually checking on the controller if they're authenticated, so I might as well grab their username. So with that done, we can actually add the next part, which is just if they are signed in and it's their comment, they should be able to delete it. So we'll do a signed in and then a big ol' and we'll actually pass in another parentheses here, another set. So we'll get the current user's ID. And we'll check if it matches the comment user, comment.user ID. So someone who adds a comment should only be able to delete their own, is what this is checking for. And then we'll render the link to delete button. And here's kind of a weird way to do so. We need the comment shot ID and the comment ID to do this. Then we can pass our method of delete on it. And then a class will be button is danger, which is red. And then we want to just throw a dialog of confirm. Something quick and easy like that. Add space. And we should be able to end that there. So I think that's it. So obviously that won't display yet. Let's verify it works. I'll just throw my first name here. This is my first comment. Looks like I've got something wrong here. Comment user ID, current user ID. Let's double check that. All right, guys, it looked like I had some sort of typo in my code. I more or less copied and pasted from my demo project. I think it was just something to do with something I wasn't seeing immediately. I've been staring at the screen for way too long, I think. So you may have saw it. Good, kudos for you if you did. But anyway, it's rendering now. We have our comment on our view. And since I'm the logged in user, I can delete it. To verify that I can't, if I'm another user, I'm going to sign in as John Smith or J Smitty and see if I can go ahead and see that comment delete button, and I cannot. So that's awesome. That's exactly what we want. This is like, you could toy that in such a way that the user who posts the shot could delete their comments plus the people that comment on them, but that's something for another time. I don't feel like kind of doing that right now because I've been working at this quite a bit, but we have comments, so success. So let's I'm gonna go back into my other user role, and if I can type, and we'll be back in action. So again, we can make comments. I guess I could have added a comment as the other guy, and you would have seen that on this one too. Why don't I, in fact, just do that real quick. So there we go. I can delete my comment, but not that one, and the vice versa. So why don't I add another shot by me, and why don't I do, people seem to like this one. Some more content, create shot, great. So there's two. I'm gonna add more from the other user just to get some data going here. So we have kind of a full row. Again, these are all on my actual Dribbble profile, so if I'm not stealing them from anyone, it's more or less my stuff. I did like a UI design exercise, daily UI or whatever it's called, so I messed around for a little bit, creating some new stuff, more or less to just vamp up my portfolio because my stuff was kind of outdated. And if you don't know about me, I do design and development. I more or less got started in design, so development came out of need to build stuff that I was designing, so I decided to teach myself, and the rest is history. So let me get all this data in. I probably should have done this off camera, but you can be patient maybe. We're almost there. Okay, so that's 6 of them. Great, we're into the next row. That's kind of what I wanted to show. So like the CSS grid, display grid is pretty cool. If you haven't used it, definitely worth using in a use case like this. It requires so much less code to write something that does a lot of work for you as you transcend to different resolutions. So down all the way to mobile, I've got them all the way up as 1, then to 2, then to 3, 4, 5, and then widescreen 6. So it turned out to be great. Great. So you'll see also that my other account authored this particular shot. I authored the rest, as you can see by the name and the thumbnail. That's me. And we can leave comments at this point. So I'll just maybe another comment here just to have some. There we go. Okay, so the next little thing I want to do before I wrap up this episode is to get our analytics to display on all of our views. So let's first start on the index view. And I should be version controlling this. I just realized I haven't been this whole time. So don't forget to do that on your end if you're wanting to, circle back and do different changes and stuff. I didn't want to basically screencast that stuff because it's kind of mundane, but definitely do that. Make a habit of it. You'll run into an issue where you need to revert some code and it will be a lifesaver. So let's look at the index view, and we made a placeholder here just for the shot views. Comments is in the middle, so we actually want to delete that and get the comments this time. It's going to be pretty easy to grab. We just get a count for this and it will look like this. So we're just gonna do another link to. We really don't need the link to since we already have that. We can just do Rails shot.comments.count. Let's see what happens here if those numbers update. Yep, cool. So we have a 1 here since there's a comment on that one. There's 2 on the first one. So it's pulling that in. And it's easy as that. So I want to update our show page too to reflect that. So let's go there and go into our sidebar. And this one, I commented this out before, but now we can access it because we have it available. So we'll get the shot comments.count and we're running it through this pluralize method, which in a sense, if there's more than one comment, it will display a handy helper to pluralize comments to that effect. So here you see 2 comments now. And if we have the 1 comment, like on this shot, it'll just say 1 comment. So awesome. Great. So guys, we have comments wrapped up. What's next is to integrate some gems to get these views and likes working. And then from there, we're just about finished. So I hope you followed along this far and found it useful. If not, definitely let me know in the comments. Let me know if I can help. Happy to do so. So I'll see you in the next part.